Hi chess friends, this is King's Executor covering an recently played Alekhine game, and this game was played about a week ago in the Tradewise Gibraltar tournament. It's between Jose Carlos Ibarra Jerez, rated 2538, and Ismael Terran Alvarez, rated 2399. So very strong players, and the Alekhine of course is employed against e4. Well, let's think in chess principles. Black's developing a piece, and black is first to develop a piece, attacking an unprotected white pawn, which forces a concession to white, out of white. There are different approaches. One modus approach is knight c3. There are different recommendations. d5 is played mostly, for example, and black takes here with check, and if well, the queen or the bishop can take here. If bishop takes, then probably this is the way to go, maybe castles and so on. Sorry, let's go back here. Really, moves like d3 don't mean anything. Knight c3 again. There are recommendations such as e6, and if d4, well, I have heard from this move here, bishop b5, but I found out that it's very uncomfortable for black to play, and what I found for white to have an advantage is e5 here. And if knight d5, queen g4, and due to the location of this bishop, g7 is weak. And now, well, there are different approaches I tried to hold this, but it's really difficult. Of course, castles is very bad, met by bishop h6 with this strong pawn here. That means that in this position white probably hasn't even to take on f8, but of course he can. It's that made me look for moves like king f8, h5, kicking the queen, but this is all very advantageous for white and difficult. So knight c3 for the time being should be met by by d5. Well, and if white takes here, then black has simply a free game. This bishop is free to go. Probably pieces are going to be exchanged. If here, this and that, threatening to take here with check, well, you can simply play e6, and if takes, opening this bishop in some lines, well, knight d7 is solid. After that, queen f6, exchanging queens, and looking forward to a better pawn structure. Okay, so this is the possibility with knight out to c3. Well, any movements with the f pawn is restricted. Of course, the pawn is attacked. That makes the lines for white to choose very limited. So Alekhine players can really prepare nicely for the game. This is why the normal player should employ such openings that limit the opponent's answers. and e5 was the move between Jerez and Alvarez. And the knight d5 is the approved move here. c4, knight b6, d4, d6, and this is the exchange variation with takes on d6 with the e-pawn instead of taking with the c-pawn. This is more solid. This is the newer, more modern approach. Knight c3. Well, white can really fool around here with the move order. It's not really changing very much. And for a long time, bishop e7 was the main move, but we wanna keep the d-pawn under pressure because after bishop e7 and bishop d3 castles, knight f3 for example, this setup really is healthy for white, and this is not scoring very well for black. So in this position we first, as in the game, develop our knight to keep this pawn under pressure, because now bishop d3 is not possible. And immediately d5 was played, which I think is a committal move, and of course it's not losing, but it's it gives black a clear plan already. You have these holes now, and the knights can easily occupy these squares, and a5 covers b4, so this pawn cannot kick a knight on c5. So, and this makes these pawns rather static, and I think you want to keep flexibility in your position to decide later what to do and what's best with the pawns, what's best to do with the pawns later on. f4 here. Such over-aggressive approaches really score nicely for the Alekhine player, because the Alekhine position is really resourceful. The knight drops back, eyeing c5 in particular. Knight f3, bishop e7, bishop e3, castles. Knight d4. Well, this is already against any chess principle. Of course, you want to develop this bishop, and you want a castle. Well, if this pawn is already here, castling long is of course a possibility, but this pawn is already easily touched with c6. So this is why I don't like this approach here for white. Knight d4, rook e8. You see the king is in the middle, the white king. Queen f3, bishop f6, and now castles long. And knight c5. Well, I think moves such as b4 to kick the knight are really bad, because these pawns here are all very easily attacked. You don't want to come forward with your protecting pawns, which are protecting your king. Bishop to f2 here. Knight a b4. Exchanging of defenders for mostly this one, which is covered by the pawn, in conjunction with the pressure of the long diagonal here, makes sense. This knight is taken. bishop d3, bishop d7, bishop c2, queen e7. Well, if a rook comes to the open file, the queen can retreat here. g6, and building up a battery here is nice. Rook d2 and knight b6. Now the knight here is not that bad because of these pawns. Queen d3, and now you see white's battery. So g6, h4. Well, it's clear that in opposite castling positions, pushing the opposite side pawns is the key to win. c5 with tempo. And now you see if white doesn't take, well, en passant here, of course the knight is threatened. If white were to retreat, like knight f3, then you would have even moves such as bishop f5 here, but the overall plan is you fix these pawns, in particular c4. Now you simply can move this knight, pressurize this pawn, play b5, and you can always gambit pawns in such positions because they open this opens lines against the enemy king. But in this position, the pawn after c5 was taken en passant, and now you see by committing these central pawns, black managed to soften up the white center. So h5, now it's getting interesting. c5, trying to get control of the dark squares in the center, attacking the knight, and in between move, attacking the queen. H takes g, h takes g. As long as black has this bishop, it's really safe here. And if the queen would have the time to move here, which it doesn't have, well, the queen could come here and cover easily everything. The rooks are exchanged, and f5, sacrificing the knight here voluntarily to open up lines against the black king. But I think this is too slow, and the sacrifice shouldn't work. Black's position now is even that strong that he can even leave the knight there. Just going back, I think the only move in this position is knight b5, pressurizing this backwarded pawn, and well, if queen to g7, pressurizing this pawn, b3, well, that doesn't look nice, does it? For example, check, well, going here, and it looks already very terrible here. I think this is lost for white in this position. Oh, sorry. Just let's go back. If king here, well, check is possible, king d2, and a6 kicking the knight, and now the knight seems really lost. With knight c3 here, we can even chase the queen, and then let's say queen f3, check, and rook e2, king takes. Now you see black cannot hold this position. So in this desperation, white plays f5, and after queen g7, white took the pawn, threatening check on f7 with the pawn. Well, if knight f3 here, again check, and this looks really difficult. Takes on f5, and after some move like queen b3, takes, bishop a3, threatening queen a1 check. And if a move, just to look at the threat, let's give white a random move. Check, king d2. You see the power of this rook. Check with the bishop, and now we can simply grab material. So let's go back to f5. Takes was the move. So black is still leaving this knight there. If takes, of course, check. So black takes the pawn first, threatening to grab the sacrificed knight. Well, the queen takes the pawn, and now bishop d4, a smart move. Of course, if queen takes, then the bishop retreats, simply having won a piece without an exchange. So takes, and now queen takes pawn on d6, and knight takes c4, attacking the queen. This is a very strong move. And queen c5. Now I don't know why Alvarez didn't go for rook c8. You see, the queen is attacked, lined up against the white king. Knight d3 is going to follow, and picking up the pinned bishop. So, well, a move like here could even be met by takes, and this would be met by check, and king d2 by rook d5, and this should be winning. Of course, yeah, this should be winning for black. So I don't know why rook c8 wasn't played. Let's just go back here. Rook c8. Probably black was maybe afraid of queen d5 check, and the king would have to go here. If queen f7, that would lose, of course. Well, so on queen d5, the king would have to move here, and I don't know. Rook f1 check, king e7, and black is still threatening to go here. So I don't see what where white's attack is. Instead of rook c8, Alvarez played knight to e3, and this kinda seemed to be a confusing situation for black. King f7, and now I think black starts to go wrong here. Well, the better move clearly was rook e7 here. Alvarez took here, check. Well, check. Maybe black was relying on an attack here, but I just can't see it. The bishop is nicely protecting and blockading, and white has extra pawns on the flank. And they are marching down the board, and it's difficult, of course, to hold that. And having a long range piece here seems to help white a lot with the pawns. Now black gets to blockade a passed pawn, but the other one comes as well. Well, I think white missed the move here as well. We're on move 51, so I don't think it's necessarily time pressure. You see, this knight seems dominated, so rook f6, knight g4, check. Well, knight could come here, and let's say king here, b5, and you see the knight has no direct squares here. Okay, let's go back. White played rook b6, and after d3 and b5, d2. So white kind of missed his chance, I think, here. King c5, and well, black got to queen his pawn, and his knight came to the rescue with check. And well, after rook takes, knight takes pawn. I think this is winning for white, this ending. If white plays accurately, I think it's difficult for black to find the best moves. So practically this should be a draw, and after several moves we have a draw. Well, at least I hope I've shown you that the Alekhine positions are very resourceful against aggressive approaches. So this this forces almost white players to keep it modest with these kind of systems, and I would recommend c6 here, the mild variation. And after c4, the knight can come to c7 or b4, And well, after move like knight c3, knight d5, d7, sorry. Well, this knight probably has to lose time to retreat. And now it seems like a reasonable position here. And this is the only approach in which white scores best. And it's not at all, it's not at all a higher score than in a standard opening these days. So the statistics for the Alekhine is very good, and you try to play freeing breaks here. They could be prepared with e6 and c5. You can play b6, bishop b7. You can prepare e5 even, and play your knight afterwards to e6 and cover central squares. So this is the best that white's got against the Alekhine. But in such a position, I think it's clear already to me as a Alekhine player, that black has a nice game using the dark squares here. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe, comment, share your thoughts, and keep following. Thanks.